Thank you very much for this nice introduction. Dear ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored to be with you here presenting latest research on an aging society, but also, of course, with the link to technologies we heard today. And many thanks go to Sasha. I don't sign that here. My honored colleague from the European Centre. It's the European Centre of Social Welfare Policy and Research, where Sasha is also affiliated researcher. I'm presenting this to you, and I'm very happy to really see from the morning session that a lot of colleagues are here from the Eastern or Southeastern Europe, which I really appreciate much because we collaborate very strongly with the EAP countries, the Eastern Partnership countries, and also the Western Balkans. So, happy to make this lecture here together with all of you. I'm also looking forward to get some insights from you on what I present here. Now, maybe very shortly, if it's fine for you, I like to stand because if I'm just sitting, this is not really my way of working, so I prefer to stand. So just some brief words on who am I, and more particular, who is the European Centre. So we are a United Nations affiliated research institute set up in the 70s, in the last century, quite some time ago, when they have been deciding, and if I say they, then it's the Republic of Austria and it's the United Nations, that they would like to have a kind of a research and policy advice institution when setting up the premises of the UN in Vienna. That's since that time we exist, and since that time we are trying to build up knowledge, evidence base, and trying to build up a bridge between research and policy making. And of course, not only those two main actors are involved, it's also civil society, who has a lot of knowledge and a lot to say if it comes to social services, as all of you know. Now, as already rightly put, my name is Anette, and I am mainly focusing on employment. So this was where I, let's say, grew up. I always look at the interface between employment and different other policy areas, and you will see this during the presentation, but my core, let's say, would be employment policy. Now, preliminary remark, all what you see is not only my research, as always done. We are working in collaboration with other researchers, and I just named some of them on the list so that you are aware of that where the different information comes from. There is also a reference list in the end, so also this should be ensured. Now, if we look at the world of work, and if we look at the technologies and what does technology bring to the world of work. All of you share, I guess, the point of view that there are certain tension areas which we have to take a closer look at if we want to tackle certain problems in the labor market. One of these areas is human and the machine. We are not going into now future accelerations in terms of what will come, but I think there was already a picture from robotics, from Jolanta, and of course we know that there are tension areas in the area of the changes of the jobs, in not only in terms of occupations, but also in terms of job tasks, and even below in terms of what will human then do if you look at the world of work in the future. There is also a digital divide coming up. Those of us who are digital natives or are capable of dealing with digital devices and digital tools and technology in general have a better stay and a better place in the labor market, because this is requested, of course, also from the different companies. Now, there is and might even grow a digital divide in future in terms of those who are skilled and those who are not skilled in terms of technologies. We also have tension areas in terms of enterprises. We are not anymore locally based. We have enterprises who connect globally with each other, a global economy. So where you sit and pay your social contribution might not be the place where the company has its headquarters and where all of your colleagues are working. So this global economy also drives the future of work. And of course, time and space is something which all of us are already experiencing as a tension area. Just think back on COVID, when we have been sitting at home and trying to do teleworking because we couldn't go out. We couldn't open, or we had some lockdowns, and of course those of us working in jobs as researchers have been lucky because we really could continue working. Others couldn't. So this time and space area is of course also a very important tension area. And the impact this all has of the different policy levels is quite immense. At the macro level, we have a dissolution of the separation of workplaces and the places of residence. I just informed before about that the company sits somewhere else and you sit at home. We have non-traditional working times, and all of our standards are growing on working time models that have a different backing. Yeah? So nowadays, we are expected to work from midnight to midnight because you are available every time. Of course, not always, of course, not all of us. We always have to look at different types of occupations, but theoretically, this is doable. It's much more project-based and fragmented work. We are looking at different types of projects. Small-scale projects can also be bigger projects, but it is fragmented in different terms. At company level, we also have changes which we see. We see less hierarchies in companies approaching more and more. We see a new understanding of teamwork. This does not mean that teamwork was not important before, but it is a growing issue in all of the sectors. There is virtual collaboration. I don't know how many of you I know, or not many, but some of you I know, but only from video calls. How often did we see each other during the last time? But we see each other constantly, not face-to-face, but in a virtual environment. The learning also shifted. Learning is not anymore taking place only face-to-face. Learning is constantly and even more becoming within the area of technologies, or with the help of technologies, a digital learning sphere. And on the individual and on the micro level, of my personal level, of course we also feel differences. There is higher level autonomy, just think back of working times, things like this, and flexibility. There's contractual instability, just think of the new forms of work in terms of changes on contracts. Gig economy, platform economy, these are all areas where we have a growing number of precarious working conditions. They are often self-employed and not employed by the company, which would be, for instance, I don't know, food delivery or whatever. So this is an area where a lot changed in terms of contractual basis between the relationship of the company and the worker. We also have, and I repeat myself here, the solution of time and workspaces. And so there is a big demand in terms of looking at the different areas, and a lot to do for research in order to really catch up on all the different aspects. So what we know from the company-based age management, if you look at how does aging influence the whole, let's say, technology drive, often we, of course, see older people not so capable in terms of technologies. And I see this myself. I'm born in the 70s. If I have some problems with my computer, I'm asking my colleagues who are much younger than me, trying to help out, and they just, and then it's done, and I said, okay, fine, thanks. Yeah? So there is, of course, in the workspace and in the work time, there is a different setting and of knowledge of what you can do and what you are capable of doing in terms of your tasks, and age management becomes much more important. The training opportunities which we offer, and we all know that from many different studies, the training in general is offered to male and young people. Where are aged persons? Where are the female workforce? If we think of looking at European Social Fund and funding from central level, this needs to go into those who are not yet skilled, rather than in those who are already skilled. So many of them take a step back and are not going to engage. So we have also a problem with how we learn and what we offer in terms of learning models. If we do not offer modular systems where we have a different, let's say, where we take the needs of the different participants of the learnings into account, we will not be able to train them accordingly. So there are a lot of digital and new concepts, pedagogical concepts, which need to be created in order to meet the needs of the older working generation in general, but also, of course, of the younger. So what this also means is that the world of work is unfair. It is unfair not only because we exclude large parts of our population, which again, often are women, from the economic value chain. Caring or other parts of work, household work, is still taken by female to a large extent, rather than by male. They are excluded from the economic value chain, meaning there is no value put in it economically. This does not mean that we don't value it. It is not in the economic value chain included. We are increasingly driven by digitalization and automatizations. We all know that. I think I repeat myself here in terms of where automatization and where digitalization comes in. We made already a study in the last 5 years ago for the risk profiling of the public employment services, where already at that time, I think half of the public employment services of Europe used risk profiling tools, and these were automated tools who decide on eligibility criteria of persons searching for a job. Now, to make it clear, what this means is that they are categorized in 3 different category groups, and then you are eligible for a certain type of active labor market policy. Now, we know that these tools have a bias, and not only a small bias. They have biases because they're written by us. And if you look at who is writing those tools, then it's, again, often male, young people. So there are biases in terms of age discrimination, there are biases in terms of different other discriminative factors. So the world of work is not fair, and what is important is that the policies do not replicate or do the same mistakes, but try to really help take the fairness back to the labor market. But still, this is not the case. Often policies fail to counteract ageism. So what is to be done? A lot. We call for policy transformation. So far, we adapt policies. Where we find a problem, we try to solve it. We take another problem, we try to solve it. We don't have a holistic approach towards really policy transformation in order to really get rid of ageism, get rid of unfairness in the labor market. And if we just train people alone and do not look at the different other settings in where they work, we also will not be able to reduce the divide. There are a lot of policies out there, and we scrutinize them from time to time. And I just talked with Yolanda before in the coffee break, because in the book we are now publishing, there was a big work done, research done in terms of age and workforce in, 6 different European countries. And when we looked at the results, we saw that nothing changed since 20 years. I may say it really very, very safely. It is confirmation of results of research we already had 20 years ago. This means that the policies fail because they just do some adaptations rather than really change in the way we would like to see it. Now, what could this change be? Many of you know, I see Lucia smiling, the concept of Work 4.0. We have age differentiation. We are going into education, then we are going to work, and then we are in pension. This is how our system works. Rather than having an age-integrated approach, where we have times of learning constantly, where we have time of second chance careers, second chance options included into our lifetime. And care work, of course, too, because this is something which, as said before, is, of course, taking a lot of time from many of us. Now, these integrated policies, and I'm looking about the time a bit, is also something which we miss, not just in Austria, not just in Europe. As far as I know, a lot of all the countries have these similar problems. We have policy silos, which do not contact with each other. So persons in charge in the different ministries may have coordination meetings. So not about that, but the coordination ongoingly, seeing the holistic approach towards policies, often is missing. I see this in the area of employment, where this, of course, is linked to social policies and social protection, to education because of skills uptake, to health because of the occupational health and safety, in many other areas. So there needs to be a real thinking through which different areas are tackled and how we best together can tackle them. And if I say how we best together tackle them, and we look at the legal framework, at least within the EU, we have it. Because this is a law, it's a code of conduct, it's the partnership principle, where close collaboration between the different institutions is required. We have to, whenever we are implementing EU funds, closely collaborate with the different stakeholders. And I'm not only talking at the national level, this also goes at multi-level scale. Local, someone of you answered the question, where does it work best? And it was called on the local level. This was a question on migration, I think. Now, from the local to the international, there leads alignment between the different policies and programs. So partnership is key, and I'm thinking I'm closing anyway now soon, and we have the basis for it, at least within the European Union. Now, how do we get to this inclusive society with fair labor markets? I nailed down some of the points. This, of course, is not inclusive, but strong partnerships at all levels of governance that apply integrated policy approaches are key. And we also have to challenge the way how we view problems. Otherwise, in 40 years or in 20 years, we will look again at the research in our labor market on age discrimination, and we will figure out, yes, it will be the same. There was no change. So we really should critically, and this does not mean that the policies who are in place are all bad. Please don't misunderstand me. It is just the big picture didn't change. So we really critically have to reflect our approaches we take. We really have to think of our economic value chain. And do we really look at care as a separate area? We need to build on, for instance, a sustainable working concept, which was developed by the Oil Fund, age-integrated work concepts, human-centric, age-friendly, digital-like working environments. And this is just some of the possible ways and some of the solutions that already are out there but have not been implemented at large scale. And I close with United Nations Agenda 2030. If we do really take the goal, leaving no one behind seriously, then we really have to stand up and ask for radical change and not just adaptations. I leave it at that. I'm looking forward to discuss with you. Thanks.